Hello and welcome to my 24th video in my vintage audiophile channel. Today we're going to be testing out and reviewing a Harman Kardon HD-200 that came out originally in 1988. It was probably about the third or fourth generation CD player that they had released, and there was three different models in this particular line. There was the two HD-200, HD-400, and HD-800. This one happens to be the HD-200, which was at the bottom of the line, but even so, it still had some very impressive numbers that make it a really good CD player, even better than some of the other models and brands that were out there that were more expensive. One of the things that's most impressive about this particular model is that it has really good frequency range. The stated frequency range of this goes all the way down to 4 hertz and all the way up to 20,000 hertz. Usually you'll see standard specs at 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. This one, like I say, goes all the way down to 4. So that makes it a little bit more impressive. The HD-200 and the HD-400 had an 88.1 sampling rate. Whereas the top of line HD-800 had a 176 sampling rate, which meant it had dual 16-bit outputs in it, making it sound even better. But of course, that came at a higher price. All three of them looked pretty much exactly the same. The only thing that was different about them is what was inside. It has pretty standard looks for a CD player of that era. In fact, it might even look a little bit more bare than some of the CD players that got pretty fancy, like the Sony that come to mind from that era. They had lots of bells and whistles and buttons on them. But if you really needed that stuff, is up to a person's personal preference. As long as it plays the music and plays the music well, that to me, that's all that matters. It's got your standard buttons on it. As you can see, it is playing right now. It does work. We're on track 7 of this 12-track CD with 44 seconds into the song right now. And it does have a display thing here that you can push that will tell you how many minutes and seconds are left until the CD is done. That is basically something that a person would really only use, in my opinion, when they're first starting the CD, so that they know how long it is, so that they can maybe, back then cassettes were still popular, and give a person the knowledge on how long the CD was, so they could pick the right cassette deck to dub to. It also has a repeat button that you can push on it, and you can repeat the same disc over and over and over for days, weeks, months, years, whatever you want to do. And then it's got the program button so that you can program specific tracks in whatever order you want to play them, especially if you have a CD where you don't like all the songs on it and you want to be able to skip out of those songs. That's the way to go. It has your standard play and pause. As you can see, when I press this, it goes into the pause mode. It does have your stop clear button. If you want to stop the CD, it has your skip ahead and reverse, and search forward and reverse on it. Open and close button here, And your tray here is a pretty heavy duty tray that has some good heft to it. The material here in front, from the feel of it, feels like it's probably plastic, which most of them are, with a metal casing. On the back it's very spare because they didn't have any of that fancy stuff developed yet. It's strictly RCA left and right, and the power cord. This one here says it was manufactured in January of '89, so they had them out at least 2 years for this model. And like I say, it's got a real basic spare look to it, and that's what Harman Kardon back then was known for. Real spare looking but great sounding equipment that they could entice people with. It was at that time, Harman Kardon was still pretty high end, and they were basically, up until they stopped producing home stereo equipment and audio video equipment in the mid 2000s. But most of the stuff they produced was pretty high quality. At one time they were the only manufacturer out there that was a all-American company. Later on they started outsourcing a little bit, just to compete with everybody else. They like I say, but they're still around, even if they don't produce the equipment that, like what you're seeing in front of you. They are known as Harman International, and right now their big equipment that they sell is JBL. They bought JBL out in the early mid 90s, along with a few other speaker companies, and that's what they sort of concentrate on now. A lot of stuff you see that's owned by them has got a JBL, whether it be speakers or sound docks or even car amps and car head decks. They put everything out pretty much on their JBL brand because people know that brand. But they, like I say, they are still around, just in a different capacity. And if you happen to find some of this older Harman Kardon equipment, not necessarily just the CD players, but any of the old equipment from the 80s or the 70s, it was very well produced, very well regarded equipment. You'll see a lot of the old 330 and 430 receivers from the 70s still out there, still for sale, because it was good equipment and it's withstood the test of time. But they made a lot of other stuff too: equalizers, cassette decks, CD players, even some separate amps and separate preamps. They made all that kind of stuff. They were known up until the mid 80s, maybe approaching late 80s, for making a lot of their stuff with a silver or gray finish to it. It wasn't until late 80s and beyond where they started making more of the black stuff, because that's what the market was demanding, and a lot of others had switched before that, so they kind of played catch up. But they did eventually switch over to pretty much all black like everybody else. And that's about it for this particular review of the Harman Kardon HD-200 compact disc player. If you have any questions or comments about this video or any of the other videos that I produce, don't hesitate to leave a comment or like the video or dislike it if you don't agree with me, but hopefully you do. And please subscribe to my channel so that you can continue getting these videos that I produce. And the nice thing about that is when you subscribe, when a new video comes out, you'll get a notification about that, so that you don't have to keep trying to remember what my channel is to find some of my newer videos. Like I say, this is video 24, so I'm going to keep producing them, and pretty soon it'll get to the point where I might not even say what video this is anymore because I'll have trouble remembering. I look forward to that time, and hopefully you will too. And you have a good night and a good day, and I will see you in video number 25. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.